Hi, my name is John Hatch, and this is a math 5th, 6th grade lesson on generating equivalent ratios. And what you need for this lesson is a pencil and either a piece of paper or especially if you have a notebook that you can keep your notes in. Our standard for today is RPA3A. Create tables of equivalent ratios. Find missing values in the tables and plot the pairs of values on the Cartesian coordinate plane. So to review, a ratio is a comparison of two numbers, values, quantities. There are three ways to write ratios. The first is word form, and this says 4 to 3. The next is in colon form, and it's written 4:3. And then it's fraction form, written 4/3, but all three ways are stated as 4 to 3. And here we have a picture that shows 4 salads and 3 eggs. So it would be that 3 eggs are going to be distributed over the 4 salads. And we have a ratio there of 4 to 3. Now, for our lesson today, generating equivalent ratios, we have the first example that says for every 16 basketball players in Crystal County schools, there are 48 soccer players. If the ratio remains constant and there are 64 basketball players, how many soccer players are there? Well, one way to do it is to make a table with equivalent ratios. And so here we take 16, and it's written as a fraction, 16 over 48, and we multiply both of those numbers times 2. So when you do this work, you have to multiply both numbers by the same. So 16 times 2 is 32, and 48 times 2 is 96. To find another one, the next one up, 16 is multiplied times 3, and you get 48. And 48 times 3 is 144. Well, when we get to 16 over 48 times 4, we get 64 over 192. And so that gives us the answer that there are 192 soccer players when there are 64 basketball players. Another way is to use multiplication. Multiply both numbers, both terms, by the same non-zero number. So 16 times 4 gives you 64 basketball players. 48 times 4 gives you 192 soccer players. And both those we multiplied by 4. So again, there are 192 soccer players when there are 64 basketball players. Let's look at this second example. This is using division to find equivalent ratios. Sarah made baskets on some of her shots in a basketball game. If she continues to make baskets at the same rate, how many baskets will Sarah make in her next 6 shots? And it shows that Sarah took 18 shots and made 12 baskets. So we're going to divide, and on this one, 18 divided by 2 gives us 9, and 12 divided by 2 gives us 6. Well, when we divide by 3, 18 divided by 3 is 6, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So Sarah will make 4 baskets in her next 6 shots. Another way to use it is using division, but going 18 divided by 3. And with this, we're finding the greatest factor that can go into both those numbers. And 18 divided by 3 is 6. And 12 divided by 3 is 4. So you're dividing them both by the same number. And we come up with that Sarah will make 4 baskets in her next 6 shots. All right, for our third example, this is finding equivalent ratios for 9 to 12. And which of these will work? 3 to 4, 2 to 3, 6 to 9, and 12 to 16. Well, 9 to 12, I know that 3 goes into both of those. So we can divide those by 3 to get the fraction down to its smallest. And so 9 divided by 3 is 3, and 12 divided by 3 is 4. So we have 3/4. Once you get it down to 3/4, now you can multiply up to be able to find equivalent ratios. 3 times 2 is 6, and 4 times 2 is 8. Well, let's multiply times 3. 3 times 3 is 9, and 4 times 3 is 12. We can then multiply times 4. 3 times 4 is 12, and 4 times 4 is 16. So we can see that by using this table right here, the ratios 3/4 or 3 to 4, 12 to 16 are equivalent to 9 to 12. What two operations are used to find equivalent ratios? We use multiplication and division to find equivalent ratios. Well, let's try a few together. Over on the side here, we have 4 apples and 5 oranges. In the yellow, it says complete the table using multiplication to find ratios equivalent to 4 to 5. So we can multiply times 2. 4 times 2 is 8. 5 times 2 is 10. We can multiply by 3. 4 times 3 is 12. 5 times 3 is 15. And we can multiply times 4. And there we see the pictures show us that there are 16 apples and 20 oranges. So we have 8 to 10, 12 to 15, and 16 to 20. All are equivalent to 4 to 5. Next one, we are going to find what ratios are equivalent to 40 to 28. And we know that there are some numbers that are smaller, that are factors that can go into 40 and 28. So we can write out the factors. I left out 1 because, well, one's not going to help us. So we have 1 times 40, 2 times 20, 4 times 10, and 5 times 8. When we find the factors of 28, we find 1 times 28, 2 times 14, and 4 times 7. The two that are in there for both of them are 2 and 4. So 40 can be divided by 2, and you get 20. 28 can be divided by 2, and you get 14. We have 40 divided by 4, the other factor, and we get 10. 28 can be divided by 4, and we get 7. So we found equivalent ratios for 40 to 28. Let's try this one. Complete the table to find ratios equivalent to 12 to 16. Again, we write out factors for 12. Those would be 1 times 12, but we don't really need the 1, so I didn't put it there. 2 times 6 and 3 times 4. For 16, we would have 1 times 16, 2 times 8, and 4 times 4. So the ones that come up there are 4 and 2. So 12 divided by 2 is 6, and 16 divided by 2 is 8. 12 divided by 4 is 3, and 16 divided by 4 is 4. So equivalent ratios are 3 to 4 and 6 to 8 are equivalent to 12 to 16. Let's give you some time to write some out for your own. We have number 1, 2 to 3, number 2, 6 to 8, number 3, 15 to 10. Go ahead and write these out for yourself. So below we have 2 cars that are green and 3 that are purple. When we find equivalent ratios, we can multiply. So we have 4 to 6 being equivalent, and when we multiply times 3, we get 6 to 9. Let's go check out the second one. We're trying to find out what is equivalent to 6 to 8. Well, first we can divide. So we divide by 2 and we get 3 to 4. And then we can multiply that times 3 and get 3 to 4 to equal 9 to 12. Let's look at our last example, 15 to 10. On this one, we can divide. And so when we find the factors, we find that 5 goes into both of those. And we have 3 to 2. And now we can multiply that. 3 to 2 times 2 is 6 to 4. So in review, a ratio is a comparison of two numbers, values or quantities. There are 3 ways to write those: in word form, colon form, or fraction form. And to generate equivalent ratios, you multiply or divide by the same number to get equivalent ratios. This concludes our lesson for 5th, 6th grade math on generating equivalent ratios. It has been a pleasure to have you in class today. Don't forget to do the homework, and I'll see you next week. Bye.